Hello. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Let me introduce myself. So first, I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. You all able to my screen?
Sir,
Hello. Hello.
Sir, no problem. Don't mind 1 minute. I will welcome you to sir, for this beautiful webinar session.
Okay.
So, good morning, everyone, my dear students. Today you attended the one beautiful concept for that webinar concept. Okay. Now, sir, Shishal sir joined. Okay, he want to talk about that beautiful concept. Be cooperate about that one. Sir, on behalf of KLE Society, SMSPCA College Hathani, and all the faculty and all the student purpose, we heartily welcome you to sir, for this beautiful session, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Sir, you carry on, sir.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
You all able to see my desktop, right? Yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Srishal Chinnanavar, and so currently working for AT&T as a technical specialist. Having a total uh, around 14 years of experience. So I started my career in 2009. So as per my knowledge, I'm going to suggest you all is so practical knowledge is better than theoretical knowledge. So once you start in a job in a software industry, no one is going to ask you to uh, 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 tell you like what is inheritance and all. So they are going to ask you to implement the inheritance. So guys, so instead of reading more on theoretical, so start practicing it programmatically, so that you will get a job immediately. So that's what I wanted to tell. When I was in a fresher, so no one told me like practical knowledge is more than theoretical knowledge. So when I came to Bangalore, I struggled a lot getting into the software industry. Then I realized that practical knowledge is more important. Then I started daily 15 hours practice. I was doing practical like all program. I used to practice 15 hours. Then after 3 months, I started searching a job. Then immediately I got a job in Span Infotech. I started my career in Span Infotech. Now I settled in AT&T. So going forward, you all concentrate more on practical knowledge rather than the theoretical knowledge. So today I have taken the concept of web framework in Java. In a Java, there are many frameworks are there. So among those, I have chosen the more popular like Spring Framework and the Spring Boot and the Hibernate. If you once you join to the software industry, definitely they are going to ask you to you to work on these technologies. So because of that, I have chosen these technology to uh, give a seminar on this. So before going to the Spring Framework, if you want to if you want to know the any of the framework of Java, you have to know the core Java. So in a core Java, there are many topics are there, like hooks concept, exception, multi-threading, and a collection. In a hooks concept, like you will be having override concept, overload concept, and encapsulation, inheritance. So you have to know Hoops concept first. So once you study Hoops concept properly, then you can go to the exception. What is the advantage of Hoops concept? Suppose, say for example, I'm going to give one real time scenario. Suppose, say for example, in a override concept, I'm a developer. I'm going to develop something. So I have written something, some logic I have written. So I left the company, I joined some other company, and someone joined in my place. At the time, what will happen? I don't know what I have written. So he didn't know what I have written, right? So it will be very difficult to change any of the existing code. If I change anything, it is going to affect somewhere. So to avoid such a type of problem, what he is going to do is like he is going to inherit the he is going to overwrite the uh, uh, method, and he is going to enhance the uh, uh, project. So because of that, hoops concept is very important. So you have to know what is the if you are writing any of the code, you have to understand where we are going to use the all the concept in a real time scenario. Like if you search it in a Google, you will get a many more example. So in our you can implement those in our real time scenario. And once when you come to the exception, suppose you don't know, sometime abnormal condition is going to happen while doing uh, while executing your application. To avoid such a type of scenario, one so to avoid such a type of scenario, you are going to use the exception. So one real time scenario for this exception is like, suppose uh, you are going to connect to the database. So once you connect to the database, you are going to fetch the values. So once you fetch the values, if you don't close the uh, uh, all the connection statement result set, then it is going to be a big problem going forward. To avoid such a type of scenario, you are going to uh, write it in a try, catch, and finally. So any exception happened, you catch it, and in a finally you're just going to close all the connection and all. And going moving to the next topic is like it's a multi-threading. So multi-threading is like so if you want to run uh, parallel processing, if you want to do, you are going to use the multi-threading. The like one real-time scenario, I'm going to give one multi-threading. Like suppose if you are inserting into the database any values, if you are inserting into the database, suppose that data is already exist inside the database. So what you are going to, you are not going to insert into the database, you are going to update it into the database instead of inserting. So if data is not there, you are going to insert it. This concept in Java is called as a upsert. So what if you don't implement a multi-threading, what will happen? So it will take a lot of time to insert or update into the database. So to avoid such a type of scenario, you are going to use the multi-threading. You are going to create a pool and create a thread pool, and just to do upsert into the database. At the time, instead of taking a lot of time, it is going to reduce the time to insert or update into the database. So this is a very important concept especially when you start a job in a software industry. So collection, without collection, nothing especially in a Java. Suppose a collection, one real time scenario for the collection is like if you are fetching any values from the database, like suppose, say for example, Google. I'm going to take one example of Google. So Google, you'll be having email will be there in a, yeah, once you log into the your Gmail account. So all these values, they are going to fetch into the database, and they are going to show, we have to save it in somewhere, right? So for that reason, what actually you will do, you are going to fetch the value and store it in a collection. So in a collection, many more are there, like list is there, set is there, so queue is there, and map is not a part of collection, but it is considering as a map. So these are all advantage of using a collection actually. So once you understand, once you practice this concept, then uh, your Spring framework will be very easy. And before moving to the Spring framework, you have to understand, you have to practice it, JDBC as well. JDBC is nothing but it's a Java database connectivity. So you just connect to the database, get the information, and just insert, delete operation. You can do it by using the JDBC. Then, if you understand all these concepts, then the Spring framework will be very easy. So now, as I told that in Java, we are having many more framework are there. So more frameworks are there. I have chosen only Spring framework, Spring Boot, and Hibernate. So what is the advantage of using the Spring framework? So Spring framework, it's a lightweight. Why it is a lightweight? So if you Spring developers, what they have done is they have modularized the Spring framework. What is modularized? So modularized means they have, suppose if you want to insert into the database, so they have written Spring transaction for that. So they have model wise. If I don't want a Spring transaction, don't include in your project. So I'm going to use only the Spring MVC. Okay, include only the Spring MVC into your project. So no, I don't. I'm going to use the Spring ORM. Yeah, just go ahead and use only the Spring ORM. This is a model. The model they have divided. One is the Spring Core, Spring MEC, Spring JDBC, Spring ORM. These are all model wise they have divided. And if you go and check the size of the Spring framework, it is very less. So because of that, it's a more popular. If it is a less, what will happen? If you deploy it in any of the server, what will happen? The performance wise, it is going to upgrade it automatically. It is to go fetch the values very fast. Processing is going to happen if you are using a Spring framework. And one more advantage of using Spring framework is inversion of control. What is inversion of control? Suppose if you are loading your application, Spring framework, if you are loading a Spring framework, while loading your application, it is going to create all object. So whatever you have declared inside the Spring framework, whatever the class you have declared inside the Spring framework, it is going to create object of those, and it is going to save it in application context. So if you want to get those object, you have to intimate to the Spring container, boss, I need this object. So just intimate to the Spring object, then a Spring container, it is going to get the object depending on whatever you have requested. Then once you get the object, you just use in your application that particular object. This is the main advantage of using a Spring framework. And one more big advantage of using a Spring framework is a transaction management. Transaction management is very neatly they have maintained in a Spring framework. Suppose one real-time scenario I'm going to give you example is suppose in a one industry is there. So all employee information you are going to save it in a database. So but in a software industry, especially in a software industry, no one is going to give access to the database. So only the admin is having access to the database. So if you want to do some more enhancement on the in a transaction, if you want to save any data into the database, so what actually it will do? Suppose 1 lakh people at a time you want to insert into the database. It is not possible, right? One by one, if you do, it is going to take a lot of time. 1 or 2 days it is going to take. We don't have that much of time. So to avoid such a type of scenario, transaction management, if you just pass it to the transaction management, each transaction it is going to save into the database. So, sorry, someone is talking. Okay, yeah. Uh, in a separate transaction is going to create in a Spring, and each transaction is going to save into the database. This is a big advantage of using a Spring framework. And one more advantage is JDBC. Like if you are using a JDBC, what will happen? if you want to connect to the database, fetch the value, anything if you want to do, what actually you will do, you are going to create a connection object, statement object, result set object, you are going to create it. So if you forget to close all these objects, then it is going to create a big problem in future. Suppose the 10,000 or 1 lakh people trying to access your application, at that time the JDBC is not going to support for that. So it's a big headache for developers. To avoid such a type of scenario, Spring Framework, what they have introduced is a JDBC template. So JDBC,
Excuse me, sir.
sorry?
Sir, I have a doubt. Already we have exception handling in Java. So using those methods, we can control the exception handling in JDBC also. Why need to use Spring have a framework in that particular JDBC connection?
Yeah, JDBC, that's what I'm explaining you is, suppose JDBC, if you are creating a connection, creating object of connection, statement object and result set object, okay. If you forget to close those object, what will happen? It is 1 lakh people at a time if you try to use your application. So at that time, your memory management will not allow. So
No, sir, we already have a memory management like garbage collection will be there.
yeah,
So
but
that will take care of the memory management, right?
yeah, but if you at a time, see, garbage collection once in a day, it is going to execute it. It is going to execute. Suppose at a time 1 lakh people, if they are trying to execute your JDBC application, at that time your memory management will be lost, right?
Okay, okay.
So at a time, so in 1 minute, if
There
they
is already provision is given by the JDBC that we have a connection close method and
yes,
statement close methods we already have. So using
yes,
try catch finally we are going to disconnect all the connections whatever we have done in the JDBC.
yes,
So is
exactly.
that any facility that the Spring framework is automatically doing all these things, or we
Yes.
need to manually do that one?
No, no, no. In a JDBC, we don't want to close anything. JDBC template will take care of everything.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah, this is the main advantage of using Spring Framework. So I hope all you understand this Spring Framework. So if you understand this one, I'm going to show one simple example for this. So I'm going to explain you the flow of this project. So see, this is a test.java I have given. As I told, like application, we are having a Spring container. The Spring container is application context actually. So while loading this application, whatever you have declared inside the test.xml file, this is a test.xml file. Suppose I have declared only the one bean. If you declared 100 beans, it is going to create an object of 100 bean and it is going to save it inside the application context. As I told previously, inversion of control. So this is the inversion of control. Okay, suppose I'm going to execute this one. So hello world and hello, the first name and the last name, how it is executing. So I'm going to explain you. So application context, while loading application, this context, I have passed test.xml file. This test.xml file, what actually contains is bean. This bean, I have declared hello. This is the object reference I have given. This is object reference. This is actually the fully qualified name of the class. So hello world. And what are the property I'm using? This is the hello world class. See, this is the hello world class. What is the property? I have given first name and the last name. So this is what I have declared. So property name is the first name and the property name is the last name. What is the value I'm passing? Hello world and hello I'm passing. So it is going to save it inside the this setter and getter method, and I'm going to print it here, show. So that means what will happen? It is going to I'm once so as I told, it is going to once it creates all the object, it is going to save it in the application context along with the key value pair. That is the key is hello and value is object of this hello world. So I'm going to get the object of hello world. How you are going to get based on this hello. So this is what I am going to do here. So get bean of hello. So what is the return type of that one? Hello world object. So I got hello world object. So this is the object reference, and with the help of this one, I'm calling show method. Once you call the show method, it is going to print the first name and the last name. So this is XML based. Nowadays, if you come to the software industry, no one is going to use XML based. It's already outdated. So everyone is using annotation based. This is what annotation based actually. In annotation base, no need of writing any XML file. If you just annotate it, so it will take care of the things. So here, application, instead of application context, you have to use annotation config application context. Here, I have given as a hello world annotation dot class. This is a hello world annotation class. This XML, whatever the XML I have written, this I am replacing with hello world annotation. So here what I am doing is, this is the configuration. Configuration means this is the config. I am telling to the Spring container, okay, this is my Spring configuration. So then what are the bean you are creating inside the configuration class? These are all bean configuration I'm creating here. So I'm creating an object of hello world. I'm setting the values and I'm returning the object of hello world. So I'm going to execute this hello world annotation base. Yeah, see. So here I'm printing only the first name. So because of that, it is printing a test. So here, if you see, I'm first name I'm setting as a test. This is a Spring core. So as I told, like if you want to learn any of the J2EE concept, you have to first learn the core Java. In a Spring, if you want to learn a Spring framework, Spring core is very important. If you know the concept, each and every concept of a Spring core, then it will be easy for Spring MSC, Spring ORM, anything. So because of that, this is whatever I showed, this is a Spring core actually. So any doubt on this? Okay, yeah, move to Spring MSC actually. This is actually Spring MSC. Okay, so if you want to learn any of the technology, any of the framework, architecture is very important. And if you are working on any of the project architecture is very important. If you understand the project architecture, uh, uh, then it will be very easy to code it in a project actually. So because of that, guys, if you are selected into the software industry, first you have to ask to your manager or your lead, please explain the architecture. Based on the architecture, you have to go through the code. So this is very important, architecture basically. So here, Spring MSC architecture. So once you open the browser, you are going to open the browser. In a browser, you are going to type the localhost 8080 and you are the project name. So once you hit the project name, so this is the request. First, it is a request. The first I have written as a first. So once you request anything, it will goes to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet, we are not going to write it anything. This has been developed by Spring developers. So once it comes to the dispatcher servlet, it will passes that request to the handler mapping. In a handler mapping is going to decide which controller I'm going to load it. How it is going to decide based on your XML file. In an XML file, you are going to write it, what are the packages we have to load it. So based on that handler mapping, based on your request, handler mapping is going to decide which controller I have to pass it. Then it is going to the controller. In a controller, from controller, it is going to service layer and DAO layer. what is service layer and DO layer, and fetch the values, and again you are going to pass, you are going to return something. That return, it is going back to the dispatcher servlet again. In a dispatcher servlet, this dispatcher servlet is going to decide which view, which JSP page I have to load based on the view resolver. This view resolver is going to check where is, suppose I'm returning index or hello. If I suppose if I'm returning index or hello, so in a view dispatcher servlet is going to check it in a view resolver. View resolver, we are going to give the path of the JSP page and extension of the JSP page. Based on that, it is going to load your view. This is the Spring MVC architecture actually. So I hope you understand this one. So based on this, I'm going to show one simple example on this. Yeah, see, once I hit this one, okay, so it is loading welcome to Spring MVC. What is the flow of this project? I'm just okay. Suppose so I have given URL as a Spring MVC test. I have not given anything, only the slash I have given. Once you hit the slash, what will happen? First, it is going to the dispatcher servlet. First, it will goes to the controller, it will goes to web.xml file. In a web.xml file, first it is going to execute this line. So once it executes this line, okay, so I have given as a anything you can accept it. So because of that, it is accepting anything. So I have not given after Spring MVC test, I have not given anything. So then it is going to load, URL pattern is going to execute. Then it is going to check Spring container is going to check what is the servlet name, Spring I have given. Then the controller, it will goes to servlet name. Here, this servlet name and this servlet should be matched, or else it will throw error. So if it matching, then it is going to load dispatcher servlet. As I told, so I requested, so I hit the URL. So in the architecture, if you see, I requested, and it will goes to dispatcher servlet. I requested in a browser, the request is goes to dispatcher servlet. Here it goes. Then it will internally, it is going to uh, uh, call the handler mapping. So once handler mapping is going to check the Spring servlet.xml file. This is Spring servlet.xml file, I have given the base package. This base package com.test I have given. So com.test is this one. So that means in handler mapping is going to check, it is going to execute this one. Okay, so it is, going forward, what will happen in a real-time scenario? You are going to add service layer and DO layer here actually in a 11th line. So as I'm showing only the hello world development, so I'm returning directly, I'm not doing any business logic here, I'm just directly returning index. So index, once I return index, I have not written any view resolver. So now controller is returning again back to the dispatcher select. So that means I'm returning index. This is again going back to the dispatcher servlet, and the dispatcher servlet is going to check the view resolver. But I have not written any view resolver. So what will happen if you don't write any view resolver? The Spring container is going to append your .jsp page, index.jsp page. So then this index.jsp page is going to load. So I have written welcome to Spring MVC tutorial. This is the flow of. So as per architecture, I have explained everything. So first, the request in a browser you are going to hit, then it will come to dispatcher servlet. Inside the dispatcher servlet, it is going to call the handler mapping. Handler mapping is going to load the Spring servlet, and Spring servlet is going to, this XML file is going to load the base package. The base, then Spring container is handler mapping is going to load this method, and it is going to return the index. Then with the help of View Resolver, it is going to load the index.jsp page. This is the flow of our Spring MSC. Any doubt on this? Okay, yeah, I will move to other topic. Yeah, nowadays all company is migrating to the Spring Boot and the microservice as well. So if you want to achieve a microservice, Spring Boot is the best. And if you want to do anything, Spring Boot is the best. Why Spring Boot is the best? Suppose if you one more before moving to the technology, I'm going to explain, like if you learn now Spring Boot, it will be helpful in a software industry. Now as I told, all projects are migrating to the Spring Boot. So why they are migrating everything to the Spring Boot? Okay, so one simple simple example I'm going to give for Spring Boot is like, so as I told, microservice can be achieved by using a Spring Boot. So what is microservice? Suppose your application is a monolithic. Monolithic means, so all your RESTful web service you have written, whole RESTful web service you have written in one application. So what will happen if something goes wrong? Suppose in a production environment, if something goes wrong, then all your services is down. One real-time scenario is like it's a Amazon.com. Suppose in Amazon.com, if you are browsing something, if you are searching something, if it is down, then it is not going to, it is going to throw error. Then it's a very bad experience to the customer. So to avoid such a type of scenario, what they have done is they come up with the best solution is microservice. What is microservice? They have divided a monolithic application into uh, uh, monolithic application. What they have did is they have divided all your services into separate services, each model separately. Suppose you are going to search is one model. So they have written search model in one separate microservice, separate application. Microservice means one separate application. Then once you search it, you are going to add into the cart. So once you add into the cart, that is one separate application. Then you are going to you'll pay the amount. That is one separate application. So internally, they are going to talk to each other. Internally, they are going to talk each other. That means each application is going to talk to each other. So this is what microservice. This microservice we can achieve by using Spring Boot application. What is the major advantage of using Spring Boot? One is, okay, we are going to get the embedded Tomcat, and Jetty server. So you need not to worry about any of the server. Where can I deploy? Need not to worry. So if you just create an object or create a Spring Boot application, you are going to get the Tomcat server or Jetty server, whatever you are going to configure automatically. These two server we are going to get it. And so if you open pom.xml file, previously, if you are using any of the this one, Spring MAC or anything, manually you have to write the dependency. If any of the dependency mismatch happened, then it is going to create a problem for the application. So to avoid such a type of scenario in a Spring Boot, what they have done is they have simplified. You just write Spring Starter web. That's all. It is going to include Spring related all jar file as well as your Tomcat server automatically. They need not worry about any of the version. So any version mismatch, no worries in Spring Boot application. That is a main big advantage of using Spring Boot. And one more big advantage of using a Spring Boot is very less configuration. So if you see in a Spring MVC, I have done a lot of configuration. I have written XML file. I have written web.xml file. I have written many things to run our application. To avoid such a type of configuration, they have introduced Spring Boot. Basically, if you are using a Spring Boot, it is minimizes our development time. If you want to change any of the port, if you have to write what is the port number you are going to use in a property file. That's all. You just server.port, any port number you write it, automatically your application is going to switch to that particular port. It's very easy in a Spring Boot actually. So I'm going to give one simple example of Spring Boot. I have written only the Spring Boot web application. So RESTful web service I have not written. So if you want me to write a RESTful web service, I can write it. That is not an issue. So already started, web application is started with 8080. So write it. So now application is loading. Suppose I have written my name as Shri. So your name is Shri. So here, if you see the flow of this one, so I have written only the hello controller and this hello.jsp and index.jsp. Only the JSP page, whatever the required, I have written, nothing else. I have just created the Spring Boot application, and I have written hello controller, hello.jsp and the index.jsp, and this is the property file. Because of that, some reason I think I have removed. Oh, sorry, here is there actually. This is a property file. Here, this is a view resolver. I'm giving one example of view resolver. So here I have given view resolver. Here I have written where is my JSP page, web view all JSP page. So just append whatever you are going to return, append with the .jsp page. That's all. So this is a very minimal configuration I have written. So as soon as you hit a URL, suppose if you hit a URL, first it will goes, as I told, it goes to dispatcher servlet, and from dispatcher servlet it will load this one index.jsp page. So once it load index.jsp page, I have written only the text box and the submit button. So once you click on submit button, so whatever you are going to write, suppose I have written as a C, then it is going to this action. It will goes to again dispatcher servlet. From dispatcher servlet is going to load the hello controller. Here hello, I have written hello. This is going to load it. So here what I have written, Shri I have written. This I'm adding it to the modeled attribute. Then I'm returning to the hello.jsp page this name. Then it will go to hello.jsp page. In hello.jsp page, I'm going to print your name is Shri. This is very minimal configuration I have written actually. So nothing. So if you want to change any of the port number, you just write it here. So just server dot port. If you write anything 8081, so then it is going, your application is going to load with 8081. So this is and suppose in a real time what will happen. So here I have written only the one application dot property. If you want to write any many application dot property, Then they have given the profiling in a application.property. What is profiling? Profiling means usually in a software industry, what will happen? Development environment, testing environment, UAT environment, and the production environment. A total 4 environment will be there. Development environment is always it's a developer is going to use it. So based on that, I'm going to create application dev.property file, and application testing.property file, application dev UAT, and followed by the production. So how we are going to load? So based on your profiling, in a profiling, you have to mention which environment you want to load it. So if I mention it as a dev, the dev environment is going to load dev property file. And if I mention it as a testing, so it is going to load the testing property file. This is a main big advantage of using the Spring Boot web application application actually, basically. So any doubt on this?
Dear students, if you have any doubts, you can ask them.
So do you need an example of a RESTful web service using a Spring Boot? I can write it, not an issue. So I'm just going to give one hello development of a RESTful web service. So once you select to the software industry, definitely they are going to ask you to write the RESTful web service. This is whatever the Spring Boot web application I have written, that is a Spring Boot. MEC I can achieve by using a Spring Boot actually. So do you want me to write a RESTful web service as well? Do you guys need? If you don't want, then I will move to Spring Boot architecture. This is a RESTful. So, okay, what will happen once you hit the URL? So it will go to the authentication part and the JSON translation. So that means it's a RESTful web service. You are going to hit the URL. So if you are using a post method, you are going to hit through Postman or REST client. So we are having a app called as Postman or REST client. So with the help of using those two applications, you have to test your application. So first it will come to, once as soon as you hit a URL, it will come to presentation layer. That is, it is going to authenticate it. Then it is going to translate your JSON. Then it will goes to, as I told, it will goes to service layer. In a service layer, you are going to write all your business logic. Then it will go to the dev layer. Dev layer is nothing but it's a persistence layer. Then it will hit the database and get the information to the persistence layer. Then persistent layer is going to send it back to the business layer and send back to the presentation layer, from presentation layer to the client. This is the Spring Boot architecture actually. So I'm just, I'll show it to you how this is going to work. So how you are going to create the Spring Boot project. So just you have to install STS for this one. This is, I didn't tell you all. This is a STS tool. This STS tool, it's a free source. Just install it. For installing nothing, it is going to give the zip file, extract it. That's more than enough for this. To install this one, Java 8 is a must and should. Install Java 8. So extract it. It automatically take the Java path and just open this Eclipse, this STS. So if you open STS, right click on this left menu and click on right click new Spring Starter project. This is what it is going to create Spring Boot application. So whatever the name, project name you want to write it here, you can write it. So whatever the package, if this is the group, once you create a Maven var file, in this name, it is going to create a com.example dot version number is going to create it. So what is the default package name? You just based on your project, you write it the package name. So once you click on the next, so here what you want to include it. If you want to include web, so Spring Web. So just I'm including the Spring Web. What will happen internally? It is going to include all your Spring related jar file. So click on next, finish it. So once I finish it, so it already created with demo application. So now I'm going to write one simple, as I told, RESTful web service. So I am going to write it, test controller. What is the package name? It's a demo by default, it has created. Now I'm going to write a package name as a controller. So I have written and submitted. It has created one class file. So once it created, you have to write REST controller. So REST controller, and so you have to write get mapping. So I'm going to write test public string. So hello. So to run this one, again, as I told, it's by default port number is 8080. If you want to change anything, any port number, you just come and mention it here in application.property. So right click on this application and run it, Spring Boot web application. So see, started with 8080 port number. So hello world. So this is the RESTful web services. So I have written, I just added the test. So here I have mentioned this test. So as soon as you click on the browser, first it will come to test. So, and I have not written anything, any business logic. I'm written the hello world. So it is going to return the same thing to the browser. So if you want to write any post mapping, get mapping, put mapping, many things are there. Like based on your requirement, you have to write it. So this is a Spring Boot RESTful web service. With the help of this one, you can achieve microservice as well. So if you want to talk to each other, there are many options they have given, a REST template they have given. So with the help of REST template, you can talk another application. So any doubt on this? Okay. So yeah, we'll move to, as I told, I have chosen only two framework. So next framework is Hibernate. Okay. So whatever I showed till now, I have not connected to the database. So I have just written only Hello World development for that. I have not connected to any database and get the information, anything I have not done. Okay, if you want to connect to the database, JDBC is there. What is the advantage we are going to get it in a Hibernate? So yeah, first we will discuss on what is the advantage we are going to get using Hibernate. What are the drawback of using a JDBC? So first, we will discuss drawback of JDBC. As I told you, you are going to, if you forget to close any of the connection statement result set, then it will be a problem for the application. So in Hibernate, need not worry about that one. So Hibernate internally, it is going to close everything. Okay. So this is the first advantage of using Hibernate over JDBC. And the second advantage, you are going to write, suppose now your client requirement is MySQL. Going forward, client said, no, I don't want MySQL. Your application has to be migrated to the Oracle. If you are using a JDBC, it's very difficult to migrate. It is possible. I'm not saying it is not at all possible. It is possible, but it will take a lot of time to migrate from MySQL to the Oracle. So then it is a big problem for developers. So to avoid such a type of scenario, Hibernate has introduced HQL, that is Hibernate Query Language. So if you are using Hibernate Query Language, what will happen? You are going to write database independent query. That is the main big advantage of using Hibernate. So now you have written database independent query. Suppose any client requirement, they told you to migrate from MySQL to the Oracle. Just what I will do, I am going to change the configuration instead of changing the whole project. This is Hibernate example. So I have written MySQL dialect. So instead of MySQL dialect, I'm going to write Oracle dialect. So 1 or 2 configuration here, 1 or 2 configuration I'm going to change. So just how much time it took? Only 5 to 10 minutes, max 1 day. Consider 1 day. 1 day it took to migrate your application from MySQL to the Oracle. That is the main big advantage of using Hibernate. And caching mechanism. One more advantage of using Hibernate is a caching mechanism. By default, there are 2 level of caches there in Hibernate. First level cache and the second level cache. Second level cache, you have to write it. The first level cache inbuilt is there inside the Hibernate. So if you are going to create a session of Hibernate, once you create a session, automatically the first level cache is enabled. That is the main big advantage of using Hibernate. So, and the next very, very important concept of Hibernate is ORM, object relational mapping. So what will happen? So you have written MySQL, in a MySQL, you have created the tables and all. So I want to save it in the database. So what actually ORM tool it will do, whatever the value you are sending, first it will check your persistence entity object. In an entity object, you are going to write all your variable name. Suppose variable name is the first name and the last name. So this first name and the last name, ORM is going to compare with the XML file. That XML file, you are going to declare whatever entity class you have declared, the first name and the last name. The same first name and the last name, you have to declare it. This ORM, what actually it will do, it is going to compare your Java entity class along with this XML file. These two combined, and it is going to compare with the MySQL column name. If it matches, and it is going to insert, or it is going to fetch the values from the database, anything it is going to do it by using Hibernate. This is the main advantage of using Hibernate. So with the help of this one, I'm going to explain you whatever I explained, this HQL caching mechanism and ORM. With the example, I'm going to explain. So, and one more advantage of using Hibernate is like, so you just mentioned what is the table name, student class I have written, and the product name and the price I have written. So if you are not created any of the table inside the database, it automatically is going to create it. So if you see here, so I have dropped student class here, student class table name. So see, drop table, unknown table, word is a database name, student class. That means table is not at all there. Okay. So now I'm going to execute our Java application. If I run a Java application now, just see, now it is going to create the student class. See, student class now created. Along with whatever the value I'm sending here, it is going to insert it to the database. So what is the flow of this project? So now I'm creating the configuration. So this configuration, it is going to load the Hibernate cfg.xml file. So this is here actually. So what actually this contains, all your database related configuration, you are going to do it inside the Hibernate cfg.xml file. So this is the driver class name, this is the my URL, this is my username, and this is my password. Show SQL true. That means in a console it is going to show what is the SQL Hibernate has generated. So if you see, this is the Hibernate has generated. This is insert a query. This is going to show it in your console. And update. So update means the first time it is going to create your table. Next time it is going to just update. Update means it is going to insert into the database. It is not going to create this one table name again. So if I want to do create, what will have, and first it is going to check whether the table is there or not inside the database. If it is already there, it is going to drop the table name, then again fresh it is going to create it. So in a real-time scenario, the first time only you can add a create, the next time onwards you just add update. So it is not going to drop, it is going to insert it to the database. So then dialect. So this dialect, based on this MySQL dialect, it is going to create all your database related query. So you are not going to write any query. It is this MySQL dialect is going to create your query. So where is my student? This is a mapping file actually. This mapping file, I have written it here. This mapping file, as I told, it's ORM. ORM means this product class and this mapping file, it is going to check it inside your database column name. So if you see product ID is there, the same product ID is there, and the product name, pro name I have given, the pro name I have given, the price, the same price. If you see the column name, okay, the same name is there. If you want to change the name, then explicitly you have to mention the column name here. What is the column name is present inside the database. You have to write explicitly. So this is the advantage of using Hibernate. Nowadays, actually, I have given only the example of MySQL and the Oracle. So if you are using a MySQL and Oracle, it's a SQL query you are going to write it. But if now in the industry, if you come to the industry, everyone is using a MongoDB. So MongoDB is a NoSQL actually. Basically, it's a NoSQL. Everything is JSON values. If you want to fetch the any values, if you fetch any values, it will be in a JSON object actually. So at that time, Hibernate is not going to support. So for that reason, Hibernate people, they have introduced JPA actually. So if you are using a JPA, then you can get all the values from the database, from the MongoDB basically. So many technology they have introduced in Java actually. So still I'm learning actually, since as I told, since I'm 14 years of experience, I'm learning a new technology. Nowadays is a very vast actually. So always keep on learning when you come to the software industry. So yeah, this is the flow of Hibernate. And so yeah, this is, as I told, if you are learning any of the technology, you have to know the architecture. So now I'm going to explain architecture. This is your application. Your application, you are going to run it. Then it is going to check the persistent. You are going to create the object of a persistent subject. Then the persistent object, it is going to check the mapping file and the configuration file. Mapping file, as I told, it's a student.hvm.xml file, and the configuration file is hibernate.cfg.xml file. And Hibernate is going to talk to a database, and it is going to return back to your application. So this is actually architecture. Based on this architecture, this is the application. So you have written your application. Here is my entity class. It's a product actually. This is the product entity class, and it is going to load the hibernate.cfg.xml file. Hibernate.cfg.xml file is going to load the student.htm file, then student.htm file, and it is going to return and it is going to save, or anything you want to do, you are going to do it into the database. So yeah, this is what Hibernate. Yeah, thank you. If you have any doubt, any assistance required, definitely Kushal is there. Is my very close friend, or you can directly contact me as well. Definitely I will help you out for getting a job in a software, or how to study, and how to get into the software industry. Any kind of doubts in Java, so you can reach out to me. This is my number and this is my email ID. So yeah, that's all from my side. So any doubt, any clarification you need, please let me know.
Dear students, if you have any doubts, please ask them. Otherwise, we will move on to the next part. Prabhu sir, shall we move on to the next part?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. You can.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now we have reached for the last part of this webinar. This is Ramya Joshi. I privilege to propose a vote of thanks. I would like to tell a thanks to today's resource person, Mr. Srishal Chinnanavaar sir, on behalf of our Kerali College and all the staff members, and on behalf of all the students. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You have spent valuable time with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And next one, a special thanks to our beloved principal, Professor Ganesh Katkar sir, for giving a chance to our conduction of this valuable webinar and made it successful. So on behalf of the staff members and college and the students, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I extend a thanks to all of the participants once again, and thank you for participating this webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much.